Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Longbox Chronicles Month here on Reaction and Review. Tonight, guys, as I stated in my previous episode, I'm going back to DC Comics for this one. Not only am I going back to DC Comics, but I'm also going back to the Superman family of characters, which I'm going to be doing one more time this month, but hey, I just kind of wanted to give you guys a little bit of a heads up on that. For some reason, I'm covering a lot of Superman shit this month. Tonight's movie is from 1997, and I really don't know a whole lot else to tell you, because really, I'm not that knowledgeable on this hero. I've only read like 2 or 3 comics with him, and I really wasn't a fan of him. The movie in question is Steel. Yeah, guys, apparently Warner Brothers decided to put Steel out on DVD, but I actually will cover all of the details on that a little bit later when I pop out the disc and show you. Yeah, guys, somebody opted to make a movie based on Steel, which I guess actually was kind of sort of a bright move in 97, because Steel actually was beginning to surge in popularity a little bit, in small part because around that time DC Comics had killed off Superman, and Steel was one of the 4, let's just call them replacement Superman things. So he actually had gained in popularity in some small way, while a whole lot of other people wanted him dead because they wanted back the real Superman. And well, DC Comics gave them half of that, since they brought back Superman, but they didn't kill off Steel, which is probably a good thing, because you know what, Steel actually is a halfway decent character. Even though I honestly am not a big fan of the books, there actually is at least a little something there. I'm wondering if there's anything in the movie. The only thing I can tell you, and I picked it up off of the cover and off of the credit info on the back. This thing has on its cast Shaq. You can tell it's that's him right there, front and center, and it also has Judd Nelson. That's it. That's all I frickin' know. I really should have done a little bit more research going into this one, but hey, I'm going to finally get to watch this thing. I'm going to see if it's any good. I've been really curious about that ever since I first saw trailers for it way back in 97. So, I finally get to watch this thing, and well, let's seriously just hope it's not as painful as fucking Supergirl was. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Steel. So, one of the biggest dangers when testing a sonic pulse gun is to worry about ricochet. That actually is kind of cool in a slightly, realistic fashion. I actually was not expecting something like that. That really was kind of fucking cool, guys. So, you get into a small squabble on the firing range, and you get even by killing the person in the fucking elevator in a rather gruesome and badass fashion. Actually seems a little bit much, but still, at least it was sort of cool. So, the gun that was able to completely wipe out a tank's treads only singes Shaq's shirt. Sure. I'm gonna totally buy that. You know, guys, I actually just kind of sort of want to share this with you. You guys can hear this, right? This movie has a fantastic soundtrack. This is some really catchy stuff, man. I love it. Let me see if I've got this straight. They build this suit made entirely out of metal. They have a grappling wire built into one of the wrists, but the wire isn't strong enough to hold him while he's in the suit. You would almost think that they would have tested that prior to him going out at all. Guess not. So apparently, skinheads want these super weapons. I really don't know a whole lot about skinheads, but I don't normally think of them and think of the kind who'd want to use high-powered weapons to do their various acts of domestic terrorism. It just seems a little odd to me, I guess. When the rest of these nice folks start World War III, dude, one of your buyers is a gang of what look to be small-time skinheads. At what point are skinheads gonna ever start World War III? I swear to God, guys, I believe that skinheads are probably the least threatening group you could sell these sorts of weapons to. In fact, shit, it actually is almost laughable. Well, folks, that was Steel. I actually have already popped out the DVD, and I would like to mention something before I go into the review. First of all, I should mention that the movie did come off the Amazon wish list, and I am going to be doing the shout out at the end. Now, I just sort of want to warn anyone who wants to buy this on DVD. I just want you to know exactly what you're getting into. As you can see, this is part of the camera will focus on there. This is part of the Warner Brothers Archive Collection. Now, for those of you who don't know what that means, it means that Warner Brothers, instead of putting out proper commercial releases of movies on actual like high quality DVDs, they're taking just a bunch of the stuff which they never put out on DVD before, and very quickly shipping them out on DVD-Rs with literally no bonus features besides, at least in the case of this one, the movie's trailer. So, and since a lot of people know that DVD-Rs do not last nearly as long as regular DVDs, this might actually stop some of you from buying it. I don't know why Warner Brothers is doing this, but they are, and I just sort of wanted to warn you guys before any of you decide to go out and buy this thing on DVD. Now, let me say that I was pleasantly surprised with this movie. See, because I went into it and I was expecting the absolute worst. I was literally expecting a pile of crap. And instead, no. I actually got a movie that I'm kind of happy to have finally seen. Because the story is kind of strong and the acting is really good, and I am going to cover all of that in just a moment, but I just wanted to say, I went into this thing and I truly was expecting just pure crap, and instead I got something that was actually somewhat decent. It wasn't great, but it was at least halfway decent. Now, allow me to run through all of the positives and negatives which come with Steel. Let's start with the writing, because the writing was, for the most part, really solid and really strong. I mean, there actually were only a couple of moments where the writing felt a little bit sketchy, and that was moments such as, well, I actually mentioned one of them, and that was when Steel's grappling cable gives out because prior to going out on this field test, they didn't bother to pre-test the cable, which you would almost think you would do when you're trying to lift a 7-foot man apparently wearing 70 pounds of armor. You would want to test out the cable, but they didn't. And that to me just seemed a little bit questionable. One other thing I felt was just a little bit odd, and this also is just sort of, and this is just sort of a minor gripe, if nothing else, is that at one point videotape of all of these modified weapons in use is broadcast apparently around the world, and the only people who show any sort of interest are 3 groups. One of them is a group of skinheads, which I mentioned a couple of times because I just find their interest in this stuff to be just kind of laughably stupid. And then there's 2 other groups who I was not able to actually make out their language, so I couldn't even tell you. One of them could easily have been, I don't know, Cubans. I don't know. I really have no friggin' clue. And then when the weapons auction actually happens towards the end, the only groups you see are, again, the skinheads. The skinheads who apparently have enough money to purchase these massive weapons which they'd need for small acts of murder and hate and fucking hate crime in the U.S. And some guy who sounded like he might have had a frickin' Australian accent, like that was it. And then there was also a third group, but they almost never spoke. So yeah, apparently the PLO, IRA, Hamas, and all these other groups were in no way interested in these like ultra high tech weapons that can do mountains of damage. None of them are in any way interested in going to Los Angeles and picking them up. No. Makes total sense to me, dude. Anyway, beyond those, as well as just a few other small gripes, the writing is really kind of strong. I mean, okay, yeah, the writing was never going to win a fucking Oscar, but the writing was still there, and the story that is being told is a very decent story, and it's a very well told story. So, frankly, I honestly am not able to, dump on him for that, because damn it all, the movie was genuinely good in terms of writing. Now let's talk about the acting. I am about to say 3 words I never thought I'd ever say. Ever. Shaq can act. Holy hell, I was beyond stunned when I was seeing that Shaq was actually putting out a fucking performance that was actually worth mentioning as decent. I mean, because I have never seen anything else which Shaq has been in, but I keep hearing horror stories about his other big film, which was Kazam. And apparently that movie royally blows. Partially because, according to a lot of people, his acting is shit. Well, I guess sometime between then and here, he heavily improved. Because he actually turned in a rather decent showing here, as well as the rest of the cast. Now, once more, similar actually to the writing, nobody actually was turning in anything which was going to be worthy of any kind of high praise, but all of it is still good enough to actually say that yeah, there really isn't really any bad acting to be found. It's just all kind of average at best. So there is that. Effects. Once more, I actually feared that effects were going to be really cheap and kind of shitty. Actually, they looked really good. I mean, again though, we actually are talking about a movie from 1997, and a whole lot of the effects were just basic things such as, well, like laser fire, like all of that kind of stuff. So frankly, there really would be absolutely no freaking excuse for this thing to have horrible effects. And they were able to at least make those basic looking effects look really good. So honestly, once more, I actually am not able to dump on them at all. Music was really good, and I believe that may be in part to the fact that one of the producers on the film, at least I believe that he was a producer. Let me check. Yes, he was Quincy Jones. I think that if Quincy Jones' name was on anything, was on any film, and the music sucked, I believe actually that would probably cause the world to fucking explode. Because Quincy Jones knows good music, and I think that if he is attached to something, everybody is going to try to put in at least some level of effort to make the music decent. And we got that. We actually got some decent music, and some of it was really catchy, some of it was really good. So frankly, music is probably the shining point on this film. Because everything else is good, the music is great. So, that actually is kind of the one point I can really drive onto this as the biggest positive. And this time, when I say that the music is the best thing here, that actually isn't really a bad thing, because everything else is good too. It's just that the music kind of stands out a little bit. All right. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I could really talk about with this film. Well, I am going to say, if you guys have a chance to watch this somehow, and I really wouldn't recommend going on to Amazon and buying a fucking DVD-R of it, but if, let's say, like Cinemax or something is showing it, go ahead, guys, and watch it. I mean, hell, the film is only 97 minutes long. It seriously is not going to cut a huge chunk out of your day, and the movie really isn't that bad. The movie also isn't, all fucking that good, but it is at least watchable and decent, and that's really all that I could possibly ask for when I go into a film expecting it to suck. So, hey, that actually is the positive there. And as I said, Steel came off of the Amazon wish list, and the person who sent it in was my friend David. Yes, you can find his YouTube channel, as always, at Little Ridley Stairs, and, yeah, he actually sent me something that was sort of decent, and I know that this isn't the first time he's done that, because he also sent me Dead Heat, and Dead Heat was actually pretty good too. So hey, that actually is kind of a positive, and by all means, guys, swing on over there and check him out. And if you happen to like the videos which him, Josh, and Nick all put up on that channel, by all means, sub them, because they actually do put out some funny, rather random, goofy videos. So hey, that actually is always a positive. So with that, folks, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Wow, I sort of got stuck on that. I've never gotten stuck on my fucking ending. Well, I have, but doesn't matter. Let's try that again. And with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.